Good morning and welcome back to Miniature Monday here on Gaming with ADHD, where today we are continuing our look at the Battletech Mercenaries box set miniatures. So, if you missed the first video, I'll have a link to it in the description for 4 of the mechs that came out of the Mercenaries box set. And in today's video, we're going to look at the second 4. So, once you're done with this one, go check out the first video. Now, Mercenaries was released as part of the Mercenaries Kickstarter, funded in 2023 and released in 2024. Now, these mechs are not picked for any particular unit affiliation, size, weight class, anything. I just tried to get a mix of the mechs so that you'd have an idea of what you're going to get out of the box set. Now, before we get started, do make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. I try to put out a few videos each week covering board games, miniatures, role-playing, and anything in between. In addition, I usually do 2 to 3 live streams a week where I'll paint miniatures. We're starting a new series deep diving into different rule sets, whether it's role-playing games or miniatures games. And we'd love for you to come and hang out and, be a part of the community and the discussion. So, with that out of the way, let's dig into this. So, first up, our first mech is the Ostol. Now, this is one that's always kind of confused me because originally I was told that this is based off of the regular battle pods from Robotech, but the art never really seemed to line up, and it didn't make sense to me. I didn't really see it. So it's definitely been an interesting road for this particular mech. It's gone through the unseen phase, the reseen phase, we don't care that we don't consider it unseen anymore. So definitely kind of interesting. But it is a little bit of a strange looking mech. Not a bad one. But while it retained some of those original art stylings, I think you'll see that this one has actually changed quite a bit from its original design. For this particular miniature itself, overall, I like it. The head and cockpit are a little strange. It looks sort of like some sort of animal, but I can't really place it. It's just a bit of an odd design, but not horrible. So, looking at the art, this is the original Ostol from 3025 as drawn by Dwayne Luce. Now, I will admit you can see definitely some of the battle pod references. You've got the 4 laser cannons on the front. The feet are definitely very representative of the battle pod, sort of this central toe with these bulbous outside toes. Sort of in a hoof style shape. However, Dwayne actually made a lot of changes to it. First off, the legs are normal humanoid style legs as opposed to backward chicken style legs, which was on the original battle pod. So it's forward, it's got regular knees. It also has arms, which battle pods did not have arms. They had little thrusters in arm pods for jumping around. So that's really what confused me. I mean, I sort of saw it, but it didn't look like those original battle pods. So this was the 3025 version. And then we got this version in 3050. So again, keeping the distinctive feet, the 4 lasers on the front, but then sort of adding this little backpack with the antennas. We've also got again, these spindly little arms, but going with more, shoulder space. Now, this is the Project Phoenix version. Now, I will admit, I did not care for the art out of Project Phoenix. In general, if you've watched any of these videos before, you know that I am pretty forgiving as far as the art styling. I struggle with these. Functionally, they're not bad, but they went so far trying to get away from the original designs that I just got frustrated because it just wasn't what they were. They didn't. I don't. Can't even put my words together. I don't think they were successful in most cases. There are some that are good that I do like, and I think if I was to take them as their own designs, I would probably be a bit more accepting. But in general, when we're talking about, Project Phoenix art to try and bring these designs back into an artistic form as opposed to just text, I was not a fan of Project Phoenix. So this one I'm a little mixed on. We then had this one from, I think, Tech Readout. It was a later Tech Readout 3085, which is also a bit of a mixture because it's fairly rare from my understanding. So a lot of people might not have necessarily seen this art. This one I think gets it. It's weird because it's a mix between the original style art and that Project Phoenix art. You have the legs with these waffle irons on the shins. The laser cannons are kind of scattered all over the chest as opposed to being, the 2 and 2 like you see on the original art. Still has these antennae, but definitely has a very, very different look while trying to be the same. It also has completely different feet, which I do think sort of throw it off. We then get this version for Ilclan. Now this one I think does a lot better at trying to respect the original art, but also do something new. If this had been what we got for Project Phoenix, I think I would have been a lot happier. First off, look at the feet. We've got the big central toe with the two outer toes. Again, you've got the 2 and 2 laser cannons on the torsos, and the arms, while not as spindly, aren't huge or overly sized. You've got the antenna in the back, and then you've got sort of this weird animal style cockpit, for lack of a better way to put it. Overall, I do like this one, even for the Ilclan, everything out of the same factory. I'm a big fan of this art. I think this one does everything as far as, paying homage to the original art, but doing a really, really nice upgrade to the figure. And that's what we end up with for the mech. So that is the Ostol. All right, now next up we have the Caesar. Now the Caesar was a Fedcom design, essentially stealing the Capellan Confederation Cataphract, which I will be honest, when I first pulled out the figure and was looking at it, I thought it was a cataphract. And then I was even more confused because I had recently painted a cataphract for Romano Lau. And so I knew that the cataphract was in the original wave of figures. So I was a little lost. But in this case, it is the Caesar, not the cataphract. And overall, it's a decent design. It's got backward canted legs, which I'm usually a little partial to. And overall, it's a decent mech. Now, it is really close to the cataphract, so just be aware of that when you go into it. But I think we'll see that overall it's pretty different and shouldn't be too confusing if you've paid attention to your Battletech. Like, apparently I've missed some things, but that's my fault. Now, as far as the art, this is our original piece of art from Tech Readout 3050. This design originally appeared in 3049, so TRO 3050 would be a good place to start showing it. This, I think, is interesting. The legs very much remind me of the legs from the original Marauder. So I think that was definitely an interesting design choice. But then the body, again, going back to the Ostol, sort of reminds me of a battle pod in design. So definitely an interesting mashup for the two designs. We then got this version in the 3050 upgrade book from Brent Evans, moving a little away from those inspirations, I will call that. And I don't know if they were. It's just what it's saying in my head. And of course, Brent's trademark checker boxes. Yes, I will be pointing that out anytime I see a Brent Evans piece of art. Love you, Brent. So overall, it's definitely moving in a much better direction as far as the design. Although I will admit, this one is pretty clean. A lot of the 3050 designs were pretty good for some early Battletech art as well. Now, finally, we have this one from Ilclan, where definitely gets a bit of a departure. I mean, you still see the designs. You've still kind of got this bulbous cockpit here, and the rest of the design elements are there, but it definitely looks different. It looks more like you would expect. Like the cannon here in the torso isn't so thin, along with the lasers on the arms. Overall, not bad. I think I like this one. This is good. This is a good one. Definitely a good representation of the mech, but with some nice 2024 style or 2023 style art. So definitely like the Caesar. Next up, we've got the Star Slayer. Now, this is another one of those sort of... Brian missed it. So, originally making its appearance in McLaren's Armored Cavalry, it is definitely a bit of a strange design. As you can see, it's got giant jump jets on the back, but then, like, the entire right side arc is basically unviewable due to the cannon in the arm and the torso. Let's see, I'm not entirely... Yeah, so 2 large lasers is what it comes armed with. But yeah, this particular design, I think it's very interesting that they completely blocked out that right side of the mech. But overall, I like the design. I mean, it sort of has a bit of a Hollander look to it, which is probably the biggest offender of that. We'll call it this style of look, but I like what they did here. It looks good. It's a nice beefy looking mech. Looks like it can take some damage and absolutely deal some out as well. Now, as far as its art, this is its original representation. I will be honest, I never owned McLaren's Armored Cavalry, so I never saw this. This is not one that I would have been like, man, I need to run that guy because he's amazing. No, don't like it. Now, we did get this in Tech Readout 3058 from Dwayne Luce. Now, this is a lot closer to the mech that we got today from the miniature. Again, giant lasers on the right-hand side, a good-sized arm, but then you've got this cockpit up here, which definitely looks a lot closer to the new mech. The legs are a little thin. You've also got these giant, like upper leg actuators. I don't know why they would have been built up like that, but okay. And then we get this for our Ilclan version. So it kind of drops those, I'm going to call them leg wings, because that's really the only way I can think about it. And then it's got its Ilclan bulky armor plates. So I think we've hit a good spot. Again, I'd like the design to be a little bit more unique. I realize I'm going to be saying that a lot, because what I mean by unique is I feel that all of the Ilclan mechs look like they came out of the same factory. So I would have preferred that. But this takes that original design from McLaren's Armored Cavalry and makes it something that I would actually play with. I would have never purchased the original miniature. I would have never considered taking the mech on the battlefield. It would have never seen the light of day. This I will actually play with. But that's the Star Slayer. Now, finally, we've got the Flea. Now, as is very common with the ultralight mechs, I'm calling them 20 tons. I mean, obviously, there are smaller out there, but as is common with these very, very light mechs, they usually get some sort of an insect nickname. Wow, that was hard to word. And in this case, it is the Flea, coming in at 20 tons. And overall, it's not a bad design. The model itself, I think, is definitely a little rough. Looking at the way the legs are positioned, I'm not sure if it's a manufacturing process or a design process. It looks like the model has come in a little bit warped. You can see, I know that plastic manufacturing, there are problems with that the thinner it gets, especially when you're using this lighter PVC plastic as opposed to like normal model style plastic. But I don't think it's a big enough issue that I'm going to complain about it. I am going to mention it because some people are a little bit more particular, but I don't think it's necessarily a problem per se. As far as the design itself, I actually really like this. The original Flea looked more like a box on legs, and this sort of looks like a locust done on a budget. So, I really like how this design looks. I think it's a much, much better look for this particular mech. Definitely not complaining about it. Actually, no, I like this one. I like the figure overall. Now, as far as its art, this is our original piece from Wolf's Dragoons. Like I said, it's almost a box on legs. It's not a horrible piece of art. I'm not trying to complain about the art, especially for the era, but there's not a lot of inspiration here. We then get this one from Tech Readout 3050. Now, this is the first one that I would have seen. So, Tech Readout 3050. And definitely a much more cleaned up piece of art, although I'm not quite sure how this thing is standing on its tippy toes. But, I mean, it's light enough, I guess. But yeah, it looks like, I don't know, it looks more like it's something out of Star Wars. That's what it looks like. Like an AT-AT, like, that's anorexic or something. I don't know. It... Or an AT, the runt of the ATST litter. There we go. So it's definitely, it's not the best. Now, Brent and his checker boxes do give it a go. Nothing against Brent, but I don't think he necessarily improved on it too much. Although, he did kind of compensate for the whole tiptoe incident there. But he also, got the Wolf's Dragoon some representation. I like how it's a little bit more angular. The cockpit is much more defined. Overall, it is the Flea only gets better as time goes on. All right, we then had this version from Tech Readout 3039, mixing some of the styles. Brent's larger cockpit, but the older box style, and then it looks like it's sitting on its calves, the way the foot rests. I don't know, very strange. But then we finally get this one for the Ill Clan version. Now, I do realize it is a bit of a departure from the original design, but let's be honest, when it's a bad design, sometimes it's not a bad thing to necessarily give it a redesign. Obviously, that kind of breaks my preference for being a fan of the original art and respecting how how it evolved. I just don't like the Flea. I like the new Flea. This could be a Project Phoenix Flea, for instance. Okay, that was a horrible joke. Sorry, folks. But overall, it's not bad. It's the Flea. I like this design, and it just comes across that this is small. This is a scout mech, and this thing better be booking because it is not going to take a hit. But that's the Flea. All right, so there we go. There's the last of the Battlemechs from the Mercenaries box set. What did you think? Are you happy with the mechs that are coming in the box set? Are they inspiring you to play more games of Battletech or, expand your collection? Let us know down in the comments. Which ones are you going to get to paint up yourself or, acquire? However it is you want to do this. Let us know down in the comments. We'd love to hear more from you. And, don't forget, down below, I do have a couple of affiliate links, Amazon and DriveThruRPG. If you do make your purchases there, it will help out the channel, and we'd absolutely appreciate it. But let us know. We'd love to hear from you. So, that said, thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.